Hello everyone.
This video is a continuation of the story. The link to the first part is in the video description. I confess that I wasn't sure if I could trust her again, even if she said she wanted to fix things. The whole situation was confusing to me. Rachel reached out and placed her hand on mine, trying to comfort me. "You're going through a lot right now. If you need to talk, I'm here." "Thank you, Rachel," I replied, feeling relieved to have shared my burden. "How about a little distraction?" she suggested. "Let's take a walk along the coast and clear our heads." I nodded, gratefully accepting the offer. We left the cafe and walked along the beach, enjoying the sound of the waves and the sea breeze, which seemed to soothe us. We talked about everything and nothing, and for a while I felt as if life was returning to its normal rhythm. As the sun began to set, we headed back to the hotel. Talking to Rachel was refreshing, but I noticed a reserve in her that I couldn't explain. As we approached the hotel lobby, Rachel turned to me with a tentative smile. "David, there's something I've been meaning to tell you," she began quietly. "I like you a lot, and seeing you go through this is hard for me, too. I feel like I care about you as more than just a colleague." I looked at her, stunned. "Rachel, I don't even know what to say." She took a step closer, her eyes searching mine as if searching for an answer. "I know this may come as a surprise, but I feel like there's more to us. What Anna did only made me want to support you even more." A storm of contradictions raged in my head. On one side was Anna, begging for another chance, and on the other was the pain of betrayal that had shattered my trust. Rachel's offer was tempting, a chance to feel needed and wanted again. But deep down, I knew I couldn't make these decisions out of anger or loneliness. "Rachel, I really appreciate your support, and I care that you're here," I replied. "But I'm still trying to figure out the situation with Anna. It wouldn't be right to start something new right now." She looked disappointed, but nodded understandingly. "I understand, David. You're a good person, and I respect that. Just know that I'm here for you if you ever need a friend." "Thank you, Rachel," I said sincerely. "I really needed this." She smiled, although there was a shadow of sadness in her eyes. "Take care of yourself, David. Remember that I am always ready to listen." With these words, she hugged me lightly and went to her room. I stood in the hallway, processing everything that had happened. The temptation was strong, but so was my desire to make the right decision for myself and Ethan. As I walked back to my room, I felt a sense of clarity within me, despite the chaos and pain. I knew that no matter what path I took, I had to stay true to my principles and my son's interests. Over the next few days, work kept me busy, and the West Coast project demanded my full attention. But in the quiet moments between meetings and site visits, my thoughts inevitably returned to Anna, Ethan, and the mess that awaited me at home. One evening, as I was finishing a team meeting, I received a message from Anna. "We need to talk. This is important." My heart sank. I knew I couldn't ignore it, even if I wanted to. Finding a quiet corner of the hotel lobby, I dialed her number. "David," she replied, sounding tired and a little scared. "Thank you for calling. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, and I need to figure out where we stand." "Anna, I've been thinking a lot too," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "But it's hard to figure things out from afar. If we have any chance of fixing this, we both need to be honest." "I understand," she said, a note of desperation in her voice. "I started seeing a therapist to figure out why I did it. I know I hurt you badly, and I hate myself for it. But I still love you, David, and I want our family to be together." I sighed, feeling the weight of her words. "I appreciate you trying, Anna, but trust is a fragile thing. It can't be restored overnight." "I understand," she replied quietly, "but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I just need to know if you're willing to try, too." I thought for a moment, choosing my words. "We both need time, Anna. Time to heal and figure out what we want. I don't want to make promises I can't keep." She was silent and then said, "Okay, I'll give you time. Just know that I'm waiting and hoping." "Thank you," I said, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. "We'll talk when I get back." After I hung up the phone, I felt determined. Anna's words had touched me, but I knew that words were one thing and actions were another. We both had a long way to go before we could talk about reconciliation. The next day, inspired by my walk with Rachel, I decided to take a break from work and rented a bike to ride along the coast. The fresh air and the sound of the waves were a welcome relief. As I rode, I thought about what it would take to rebuild my life, with or without Anna. When I got back to the hotel, I found a package on the counter. It was from my parents, who had heard about the trip and wanted to support me. Inside were homemade cookies, a letter from my mom, and a drawing from Ethan. The sight of his scribbles brought a lump to my throat. I sat in my room and called my parents to thank them for the package. My mother answered, and her voice was as warm and soothing as always. "David, we're so glad you called. How are you doing on the West Coast?" "It's pretty tense here, Mom," I said, trying to sound light, "but I'm managing. Thanks for the package. It was just what I needed." "We're always here for you, son," she said. "Remember, no matter what, you have a family that loves you." "I know, Mom. Thank you," I replied, feeling a wave of gratitude. "Can I talk to Ethan?" "Of course he's nearby," she said, and I heard her call him to the phone. "Dad!" Ethan exclaimed joyfully. "Hey baby, how are you?" I asked, feeling my heart fill with happiness from his voice. "I made friends with a new boy at school today, and Grandma and I baked cookies. I left some for you when you get here." "That sounds great, Ethan. I can't wait to see you and try those cookies." We talked for a few more minutes before Ethan had to go to bed. After the call, I felt a new wave of determination. This is what I'm fighting for, to be the best father I can be to Ethan. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the project, working long hours, but also finding time to think about the future. Evening bike rides along the coast became a source of calm. Simply moving forward and looking at the ocean proved to be the best therapy. Rachel remained a reliable friend, always supportive and respectful of my boundaries. We went on a few more walks and conversations, but it was clear that there was a boundary between us. I was grateful for her understanding and the space she gave me. As the West Coast project drew to a close, I knew it was time to return and face a new chapter in my life. I had made some professional progress and had sorted out some of my thoughts, but the real work was waiting for me back home. On the flight back, I felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to face it for Ethan, for myself, and for the opportunity to rebuild my life with dignity and strength. As the plane landed and I stepped onto familiar ground, I took a deep breath. It was time to take the next step, to meet Anna and decide how to move forward. On the way home, I felt a calm determination. Whatever lay ahead, I knew I would find the strength to overcome it. With these thoughts, I turned onto my street, ready to begin the next stage of my journey. When I returned home, the house seemed strangely quiet. Anna met me at the door, but her mood was different from our last conversation. She looked tense and nervous, avoiding eye contact. "Hi, David," she said quietly, trying to smile. "How was your trip?" "Been productive," I replied, watching her closely. "How are you? You seem a little upset." She shook her head, trying to brush off my concerns. "I'm fine, just tired. Too much to do on my own." I nodded, but I knew that wasn't the whole truth. "Okay, talk to you later. I need to unpack." As I unpacked my suitcase, I kept thinking that something was wrong. Anna had seemed excited on the phone, but now she seemed distant and anxious. I decided to give her some time, hoping that she would want to talk when she was ready. That evening, as we sat down to dinner, the tension between us was almost palpable. Ethan happily recounted his school day, unsuspecting. After I put him to bed, I saw Anna sitting on the couch, pensively watching the television. "Anna, we need to talk," I said softly, sitting down next to her. "I can see that something is bothering you." She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "It's okay, David, really." I put my hand on her shoulder. "Please, Anna, I can't help if I don't know what's going on." She looked at me, guilt and irritation flickering in her eyes. "It's all very complicated," she finally said. "I don't want to drag you into this." "We have to get through this together," I insisted. "Whatever it is, we'll get through it together." Anna took a deep breath, finally meeting my gaze. "Okay, that waiter. He came a few days ago. He keeps calling and texting, trying to persuade me to go to him. Constantly reminds me of what we had, and tries to convince me that it will be better with me." Anger flared up in me, but I tried to speak calmly. What did you tell him? I told him to stop, that I was trying to make things right with you, she replied, her voice shaking. But he won't back down, won't take no for an answer. Where is he now? I asked, feeling a growing desire to protect my family. I don't know, she admitted. He said he would be there, and that he wouldn't give up. I stood up, thoughts filling my head. Okay, I'll deal with this. He has no right to disturb our peace. David, please be careful, Anna said, concern written on her face. I don't want the situation to get worse. I'm not going to do anything reckless, I assured her. But I need to make him understand that he has no right to interfere in our lives. The next day I decided to find the waiter and put an end to his meddling. I went to the restaurant where he worked, determined to meet him face to face. As soon as I walked in, the familiar surroundings felt foreign, clouded by the knowledge of what had happened there. I spotted him at the bar, chatting with a colleague, but when he saw me, his expression changed from surprise to irritation. He approached me with a smug grin. David, he said coldly, what brings you here? We need to talk, I replied, trying to keep myself in check. Outside. He looked around, then nodded and followed me into the parking lot. Once we were alone, I turned to him. You need to leave Anna alone, I said, my voice firm. She's made it clear she wants nothing to do with you. He smirked, leaning against the car. You think you can just walk back into her life and everything will be okay? She deserves better than you. That's her decision, I replied, trying to contain my anger. She's decided to try to rebuild her family with me. You have to respect that. Respect? He chuckled. How did you respect her? If you were that good, she wouldn't have come to me. His words hurt, but I didn't let it show. Everyone makes mistakes, but she's trying to fix them. You have to step away. He stepped closer, narrowing his eyes. Or what? Are you threatening me? I held his gaze. If you continue to stalk her, I'll call the police. This is your warning. Stay away from my family. For a moment he looked like he was going to argue, but then he shrugged and walked away. Okay, but don't think that's the end of it. This is the end, I said firmly. Stay away from Anna. I left with my heart pounding. This conversation was necessary, but I knew it wasn't over. When I returned home, Anna was already waiting for me with concern in her eyes. Did you find him? She asked. Yes, I replied, sitting down next to him. I told him to stay away. If he does anything else, we'll go to the law. Anna sighed, relief and worry mixed in her eyes. Thank you, David. I know it's not easy. No, it's not easy, I agreed. But right now we need to focus on us, on getting things right. Anna nodded, a determined glint in her eyes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. We had a long road ahead of us, full of challenges and uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. We were facing our problems head-on, together, and maybe we had a chance to restore the trust and love that had been lost. Over the next few days, the tension between Anna and me began to ease. Confronting the waiter was a necessary step, but it was only the beginning of our journey to healing. To restore our relationship, we both knew we would have to address the deeper issues that had brought us to this point. Anna and I decided to start seeing a marriage counselor, hoping that professional help would help us get through this storm. The first session was nerve-wracking. Sitting in an office with soft pastel walls and cozy furniture, we both felt vulnerable. Welcome, Anna and David. Dr. Harris, our therapist, greeted us warmly. I'm glad you decided to take this step. It's a sign that you both want to work on your relationship. Let's start with what brought you here. Anna looked at me and I nodded, encouraging her to begin. She took a deep breath and said, I made a terrible mistake. I betrayed David's trust, and I deeply regret it. I want to make things right, but I don't know where to start. Dr. Harris nodded, looking at us sympathetically. Admitting a mistake is an important first step, Anna. Trust is a fragile thing, and rebuilding it takes time and effort from both partners. Then I spoke, trying to keep my voice level, even though there was pain in it. I feel hurt and betrayed, but I also believe that our marriage is worth fighting for. We have a son who needs us, and I want to find a way forward. Dr. Harris led us through the session, encouraging open and honest communication. It was hard, but also liberating. We talked about pain, anger, and issues that had been simmering for years. By the end of the session, we had a small hope that maybe, with time and effort, we could repair our relationship. At home, we made a conscious effort to spend more time together as a family. We planned outings with Ethan, played board games, and even started cooking together. These small moments of normalcy helped strengthen our bond, reminding us of the love and closeness that once united us. One evening, after we put Ethan to bed, Anna and I sat on the porch watching the sunset. The sky was a wash of orange and pink, the air warm and calm. "Do you think we can do this?" Anna asked quietly, looking into my eyes for confidence. "I think we have a chance," I replied, taking her hand. "It will take time and a lot of work, but I believe in us. The main thing is to continue to communicate honestly." Anna nodded, squeezing my hand. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes, David. I don't want to lose what we have." Several months passed, and we continued our therapy sessions, working to rebuild trust. There were difficult moments and painful conversations, but we walked through them together, determined to strengthen our marriage. We decided to spend one weekend in the mountains, just the three of us. It was a chance to escape the daily routine and become a family again. We rented a cozy house and spent our days walking through the forests, fishing and enjoying the silence of nature. On the second day, we found a secluded spot by a crystal-clear lake. Ethan was excited about fishing, and Anna and I had a picnic nearby. She looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "Remember the first time we went hiking together?" she asked with a slight smile. "Of course," I laughed. "You insisted on bringing a hairdryer even though there was no electricity." Anna laughed, and that laugh reminded me of those magical times when we would talk for hours around the fire, making plans for the future. "I want to go back to that, David," she said, smiling a sad smile. "To us. I know we can't erase the past, but we can build a better future." "I want that too," I said, squeezing her hand. "And we're doing it right. It won't be an easy road, but we're going through it together." As the sun set behind the mountains, casting a golden glow over the lake, I felt a new sense of hope. We were far from perfect, but we tried, and sometimes that was enough. After returning from our trip, we continued to take steps toward improvement. Anna found a new job, away from the people and place where her affair began. I focused on my work, but now I didn't forget about my priority, my family. We found a balance that allowed us to grow both separately and together. One evening, after another session with the therapist, Anna and I sat down to discuss our progress. Dr. Harris had given us exercises to improve communication and trust, and we were already starting to see positive results. "David," Anna began, her voice shaking with emotion, "I know I hurt you deeply, but I want you to know how much I appreciate your willingness to give us another chance. You've shown incredible strength and nobility." I smiled, feeling calm. "Thank you, Anna, and I appreciate your efforts to make things right. We still have a long way to go, but I believe we can get there." We embraced, and I realized that our journey was not just about healing the past, but about building a stronger, more reliable future. Our love had been tested, but it had also been reborn. In the end, it was the small moments of unity, shared laughter, and commitment to growth that kept us going. We made it through the storm and came out the other side ready to take on whatever was to come. I felt new hope for our future. The time apart had given us a chance to reconnect as a family, and I felt like we were on the right path to healing. But the peace we had just begun to find was shattered the next morning. When I went outside to pick up the paper, I froze in shock. Our car, parked in the driveway, was covered in bright red paint. On the hood, in huge letters, was written "Cheater," and under that, in smaller letters, was written, "You are Tilly." My heart started pounding and I called Anna. She came running in, seeing the car, froze in horror and gasped. "What? Who did this?" she muttered, her eyes wide with confusion. "I have my suspicions," I answered darkly, thinking of the waiter. "He's trying to sow discord, to make you think I've been unfaithful." Anna's face turned pale, her eyes filled with tears. "David, why would he do this? Why would he go to such lengths?" "He's desperate to separate us," I said, holding back my growing excitement and anger. "It's his way of sowing doubt in your soul." Anna shook her head, hugging herself. But Tilly, who is that? Why did he use that name? I don't know, Anna. I tried to speak calmly. It's a lie. You know I didn't cheat on you. She looked at me, torn between disbelief and fear. But how can I be sure? After everything that happened, how can I just trust you that this is just a hoax? I took a deep breath and stepped closer. Because I'm telling you the truth. We've worked so hard to rebuild trust, and you need to trust me. This is just a desperate attempt to break us apart. Anna looked at the car for a long time, her face showing an internal struggle. I want to believe you, David, but it's so hard. Seeing this, it brings back all the old doubts. I understand, I said quietly, putting my hand on her shoulder. But we can't let him win. We need to stick together and trust each other. She nodded slowly, wiping away her tears. You're right, we can't let him destroy us. But it's so hard, David. I know, I said, hugging her. But we're together. After a long hug, we called the police and reported the vandalism. The officer who arrived took our statements and assured us that they would investigate the incident, but I knew that without hard evidence it would be difficult to prove anything. After the police left, we spent the rest of the morning cleaning the car. The paint was still clinging, but with some effort, we managed to remove it. The monotonous work was hard, but it also gave us time to talk. David, Anna said, wiping a smudge of paint from the windshield. I'm sorry I doubted you. It's just that after everything that happened, I'm still afraid of getting burned again. I understand, Anna, I replied softly. I'm sorry that my actions in the past made you feel this way, but I promise that I'm fully focused on our recovery now. She smiled weakly, her eyes reflecting both hope and fear. I believe you, and I want this to work out for us too. We just have to keep working at it. We finished cleaning the car, and by the time the job was done, the sun was high in the sky. Despite all the pain and anger that this incident had caused, I felt a strong resolve. We had faced another challenge and had come out stronger, not allowing the waiter to ruin our relationship. In the days that followed, the tension between Anna and me remained, but we tried to talk more to each other, to discuss our feelings. We continued to attend couples counseling, working to rebuild trust. But the memory of the vandalism remained, reminding us of the fragility of our progress. One evening, as we sat on the veranda after dinner, Anna turned to me with a serious expression on her face. David, I was thinking, maybe we should move? Start fresh, away from all these reminders of the past. I considered her suggestion and nodded. That might be a good idea. The new environment will help us focus on recovery without the constant reminders of what happened. Anna nodded with a determined look. Let's think about it. I want us to have the best chance of making things right. We started exploring the possibility of moving, and I felt hope again. It wasn't easy, but a fresh start might be what we needed to leave the past behind and build a stronger future. We were careful and vigilant about who was around us. I had security cameras installed around the house and tried to do everything to protect our family. The waiter's attempts to destroy us failed, but I wasn't going to take any chances. As the weeks turned into months, the fear and tension began to ease. Anna and I found a new home in a quiet neighborhood, away from painful memories. The move gave us a chance for a fresh start, a chance to rebuild trust and strengthen our relationship. Ethan quickly adjusted to his new surroundings, and seeing him happy reinforced our confidence that we had made the right choice. One evening, as we sat on the porch of the new house, watching Ethan play in the yard, Anna turned to me with a smile. David, I think we can do this. We've come such a long way, and I smiled back, feeling an inner peace. I believe that too, Anna. We had overcome so many challenges and emerged stronger, and I knew we would move forward. Our story was not yet complete, but we had made significant strides toward healing and restoration. We had faced betrayal, doubt, and sabotage, but our commitment to each other and our family carried us through. As the sun set on our new home, I felt grateful for the second chance we had been given. Our love had been tested, but also strengthened. Together, we would continue to face every challenge, knowing that we had the resolve and strength to overcome them. There was still uncertainty ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I felt confident that we could get through this, together, with love, trust, and a new hope for the future. After months of hard work, therapy, and a fresh start in a new home. Things seemed to be finally falling into place for Anna and me. Our new neighborhood was quiet, and we were settling into a steady, reassuring rhythm. Even that waiter seemed to realize that his freedom was more important than stalking Anna, and he finally left us alone. Life was beginning to return to normal. One night, Anna and her friends decided to celebrate our new start at a local bar. I encouraged her to go, thinking it would be good for her to relax and spend time with her friends. But I didn't know that that night would lead to a chain of events that would once again ruin our progress. The bar they had chosen was lively and popular, known for its atmosphere and friendly staff. Anna and her friends were in high spirits, toasting new beginnings and bright futures. As the evening wore on and the drinks flowed, the atmosphere became more and more carefree. That's when their table was joined by the bar's charming owner, Jake, and his son Tom, a tall and handsome basketball player. Jake and Tom were well known in the community, their friendliness and good looks making them popular with the patrons. Having had a few drinks, Anna found herself drawn to Tom's magnetic personality. Tom, in turn, took a special interest in Anna, and as the evening went on, they spent more and more time chatting and laughing together. Her friends, busy with their own conversations, failed to notice the growing connection between them. Tom seemed to cast a spell on Anna, and, vulnerable and hungry for new emotions, she couldn't resist. They exchanged phone numbers, and over the next few weeks they began to meet in secret. Anna carefully hid this new connection, knowing that another betrayal would destroy the fragile trust that they had just begun to rebuild. But no matter how carefully she hid it, secrets have a way of coming out. 2 months later, I accidentally found out the truth. I was at the store when I bumped into one of Anna's friends, Monica. We chatted for a while, and she mentioned how much fun they had at the bar that night. "You should have seen Anna," Monica laughed. She and Tom were inseparable, like they were made for each other. My heart sank. "Tom? Who's Tom?" Monica looked surprised. "Well, the bar owner's son. Tall, dark hair, basketball player. He and Anna got along great that night." I felt a chill go down to my bones. Trying to keep my voice level, I asked, "Do you know if they dated again after that night?" Monica's expression became more wary. "I'm not sure, David. I thought you knew. Maybe they're just friends?" I forced a smile. "Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it." As soon as I got home, I immediately asked Anna. At first, she tried to deny it, but the feeling of guilt was written on her face. In the end, she couldn't stand it and confessed everything. "I'm so sorry, David," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for this to happen, but he was there and I couldn't help myself. I felt drawn to him. I couldn't resist." I stood there, feeling numb, and the familiar pain of betrayal filled me again. "Anna, after everything we've been through, how could you do this again?" "I don't know," she cried. "I tried so hard, but I felt lost. Please believe me, I didn't mean to hurt you." I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. "We worked so hard to rebuild trust so we could move forward, and you destroyed it all for a fleeting connection." "It wasn't just a passing thing," she whispered. "I don't know what it was, but it was more." The weight of her words hung in the air, and I realized that no matter what she said, the damage she had done was irreversible. This time, it felt different. The first betrayal had been a painful awakening, but this felt like the final blow. "I need time to think," I said, feeling empty inside. "I'm not sure I can go through this again." Anna nodded, her face streaked with tears. "I understand. I'm so sorry, David. I love you and I want to make things right, but I understand if you can't forgive me." As I left the house, I felt angry, sad, and tired. The fresh start we had worked so hard to build now seemed tarnished, and I wasn't sure if our marriage could withstand another betrayal. Over the next few days, I stayed with my friend, trying to process everything that had happened. I discussed the situation with our therapist, seeking support and clarity. The pain of Anna's actions was unbearable, but I had to make a decision for myself and Ethan. When I finally got home, Anna was waiting for me, her eyes full of remorse. "David, I'm willing to do anything to make things right. Please give me another chance." I looked at her, and my heart grew heavy. "Anna, I'm not sure I can. Trust is something that, once broken, is almost impossible to fully restore. I need to think about what's best for Ethan and for myself. She nodded, a resigned look on her face. I understand. Just know that I love you, and I'm so sorry. We sat in silence, the weight of the decision weighing on me. The road ahead was unclear, and I knew that no matter which path I chose, it would not be easy. But I was determined to find a way to move forward, for Ethan and for myself. I realized in that moment that sometimes love alone is not enough. Trust, respect, and commitment are just as important, and without them, even the strongest love can falter. The path ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to face it with a renewed sense of resolve and clarity. In the weeks following Anna's second betrayal, the atmosphere in the house was tense and uncertain. Anna was visibly upset, but her attempts to apologize and make amends seemed hollow. Tom, unlike the waiter, had lost interest in her after their affair, which only added to her feelings of guilt and worthlessness. It was a painful reminder of how fragile our efforts at repair had been. Feeling lost and in need of advice, I decided to reach out to a friend from high school, Mark. Mark and I had been close in high school, and I remembered him going through a similar betrayal situation. His girlfriend cheated on him in 11th grade, but he had managed to cope and move on with remarkable calm. We met in a quiet cafe in the city center. As I walked in, Mark stood up to greet me with a warm smile. He hadn't changed much over the years, still the same calm, encouraging man I knew. "David, how old is it?" he said, hugging me. "How are you doing?" I sighed, giving him a tired smile. "I've been better, Mark. A lot has happened, and I really need your advice." We sat down, ordered drinks, and I began to tell him everything that had happened. Mark listened attentively, nodding every now and then and letting me pour my heart out. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, looking at me thoughtfully. "You seem to have been through hell," he said sympathetically. "I'm very sorry to hear about all this." "Yeah, it wasn't easy," I admitted. "I just don't know what to do next. I thought we were making progress, and now we're back to square one. I'm not sure I can go through that again." Mark took a sip of coffee, considering his words. "I understand. Betrayal cuts deep, and it's hard to get over. When it happened to me, I felt like my whole world had turned upside down. But do you know what helped me the most?" "What?" I asked, hoping to hear something that would give me clarity. "Focus on myself," he answered simply. "I realized I needed to heal my own wounds and find my own strength before I could think about rebuilding trust with someone else. I started doing things that interested me, connecting with supportive friends and family, and really thinking about what I wanted out of a relationship." I nodded, soaking up his advice. "That makes sense, but it's hard when you're married and have a child. I want to do what's best for Ethan." "Of course," Mark agreed. "Ethan's well-being is the most important thing. But remember, a happy, healthy parent is the foundation for a happy, healthy child. If you're constantly in a state of worry, it's going to rub off on him. Sometimes taking a step back and focusing on healing yourself can create a better environment for both of you." "How did you deal with anger and resentment?" I asked, feeling those emotions still weighing on me. "It took time," Mark admitted. "I allowed myself to feel these emotions without letting them completely overwhelm me. Therapy was very helpful, creating a safe space to process everything. Eventually, I got to a point where I could forgive, not just her, but myself. I realized that holding on to this anger was only destroying me." I thought about his words. "Forgiveness, it's difficult." "Yes," Mark agreed, "but it's also freeing. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or justifying what happened. It means you choose to let go of the burden of anger and pain, freeing yourself to move on." I sighed, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. "I guess you're right. I was so focused on making things right with Anna that I completely forgot about my own healing." "Exactly," Mark said with an encouraging smile. "You need to take care of yourself first, David. Whether you and Anna stay together or not, you need to be whole and strong for Ethan and for yourself." As we continued talking, a sense of clarity began to form. Mark's advice was simple but profound. Focus on your own healing, allow yourself to feel your emotions, and prioritize your well-being and that of your son. It was a journey that felt scary but necessary. Before we said goodbye, Mark gave me one more piece of advice. Take your time, David. Take one step at a time each day. Be kind to yourself and trust that you will find the right direction. Thank you, Mark, I said sincerely. Your words mean a lot to me. Thank you for taking the time to talk. You're welcome, friend, he replied, clapping me on the shoulder. You're stronger than you think. Just keep moving forward. On the way home, I felt a renewed sense of determination. I realized that I needed to take a step back from trying to fix things with Anna and focus on my own healing. I needed to be strong for Ethan and for myself, and only then would I be able to make clear, informed decisions about our future. When I entered the house, Anna was waiting for me, her eyes full of anxiety and remorse. How did it go? She asked cautiously. Okay, I replied, feeling calm. I talked to Mark, and he gave me some valuable advice. We need to go slowly, step by step. Right now, I need to focus on my own healing. Anna nodded, her eyes filling with tears. I understand. I want to support you in everything I can. Thank you, I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. We can do this, Anna. One step at a time. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to take it with a renewed sense of strength and purpose, for Ethan, for myself, and for the possibility of a brighter future. The days passed in fragile peace, but that peace was shattered once again by an unexpected turn of events. Anna began to feel unwell, complaining of constant discomfort and unusual symptoms. At first, she attributed it to stress or a slight illness, but when the symptoms worsened, she finally decided to see a doctor. A week later, Anna sat down next to me, pale, her eyes full of fear and shame. David, I need to tell you something, she began, her voice shaking. I went to the doctor, and they found something. My insides sank. What's wrong, Anna? What happened? She took a deep breath, tears filling her eyes. I have a sexually transmitted disease. Tom convinced me not to use protection, saying it would be more intense, and now I'm having complications. Her words hit me like a punch. Complications? What complications? The doctor said it was serious, she whispered. I need treatment, and it will take a long time. I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean for this to happen. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and deep betrayal, but through it all, I knew I couldn't turn my back on her. She was the mother of my son, and she needed help. We'll get through this, Anna, but you need to follow your doctor's orders strictly and take care of yourself. Anna nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, David. I don't deserve your kindness, but I appreciate it. The following weeks were incredibly challenging. Anna's condition required frequent doctor visits, medications, and close monitoring. I had to take on more responsibilities around the house, care for Ethan, and support Anna in her treatment. It was exhausting, but I knew it was necessary. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, Anna called to me from the living room. David, can you help me? I dried my hands with a towel and went up to her. She was sitting on the sofa, looking tired and fragile. How can I help? I just need to get comfortable, she said quietly, her voice weak. It's hard for me to move. I carefully helped her get comfortable. Is this better? She nodded, smiling at me gratefully. Thank you, David. I don't know what I would do without you. As I walked back to the kitchen, I felt a pang of sadness. Our relationship had been far from perfect, and betrayals had left deep scars. But seeing Anna in such a vulnerable state reminded me of our vows to be there for each other in sickness and in health. Despite everything, I couldn't leave her now. Over time, Anna's condition began to improve. The treatment was working, and she was gradually gaining strength. Through this painful experience, our conversations became more open and honest. We talked about our fears, hopes, and the mistakes we had made. It was painful, but also necessary for our healing. One evening, after we put Ethan to bed, Anna and I sat down to talk. David, I want to thank you for everything you've done, she said, her eyes shining with sincerity. I know I've hurt you deeply, but your support means the world to me. I did it for Ethan, and because it was the right thing to do, I replied. But Anna, we need to be honest with ourselves. Our relationship has been through too much, and I'm not sure we can get things back to normal. She nodded, her eyes filling with tears again. I understand. I've been thinking a lot, and I've realized that I need to work on myself. I want to be better for Ethan and for myself. I think that's a good idea, I said quietly. We both need to focus on healing, both individually and together. Maybe some time apart will help us sort out our feelings. Anna hung her head, her shoulders slumping. I agree. Perhaps this time alone will give us the clarity we need. In the weeks that followed, we began to consider the possibility of living apart for a time. It was a difficult decision, but we both knew it was necessary for our well-being and for Ethan's sake. We found a small apartment nearby where Anna could live while she focused on her recovery and personal growth. There was a bittersweet sense of relief as we helped Anna move to a new place. It wasn't the ending I'd hoped for, but it was a step toward healing and finding a new way forward. I'll always be here for you, Anna, I said as I finished unpacking her things. No matter what happens, we'll always be connected through Ethan. Thank you, David, she replied, her voice shaking with emotion. I hope this time apart will help us both find the peace and happiness we deserve. As I drove back to our home, I felt a mixture of hope and sadness. The road ahead would not be easy, but I knew this was the right decision. With time, patience, and self-knowledge, I believe that both Anna and I could find the strength to move forward and create a better future for ourselves and Ethan. Life has dealt my family many unexpected twists and turns, and looking back, I realized that many would judge me for my decisions. Choosing to stay with Anna and support her through her illness after 2 betrayals was not an easy choice, but it was a choice I made for our son Ethan and the vows we made. Despite the pain and hardship, I could not leave her in her time of need. Anna and I now live separately. She has settled into a small apartment nearby, focusing on her recovery and personal growth, and I have remained in our family home, providing a stable environment for Ethan. Our relationship has become complicated, but we are committed to co-parenting and supporting each other as much as possible. It hasn't been an easy road, but we have found a fragile peace in our new routine. Today, Ethan and I are sitting by a calm pond, fishing. The sun is shining and a gentle breeze rustles the leaves, a peaceful moment, a respite from the chaos that has overtaken our lives. Dad, Ethan asks, his voice full of curiosity, why have you and Mom been living apart for so long? I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of his question. This conversation was inevitable, but finding the right words is difficult. I want to be honest with Ethan without overwhelming him with unnecessary details. Well, baby, I begin, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes adults have to deal with tough times. Your mom and I love you very much, and we both want what's best for you. Now that we're apart, we can work on being better people and better parents for you. Ethan looks thoughtfully at the water, his fishing rod resting on his lap. Do you still love each other? I smile, touched by his naivety. Love can be complicated, Ethan. Your mother and I care about each other, and most of all, we care about you. Sometimes living apart helps us understand ourselves better and decide what we need to be happy. He nods, considering my words. Will you ever live together again? I don't know, I admit softly. We're taking things step by step. The main thing is that you know that we both love you very much and will always be there for you. Ethan seems to accept my answer and focuses on his fishing rod again. Okay, Dad. We sit together, watching the ripples on the pond, waiting for the fish to bite. In moments like these, I feel calm. The journey has been long and filled with difficulties, but moments like these remind me of what is truly important. My relationship with Ethan, our connection, and his happiness are my top priorities. Despite the betrayals and pain, I have chosen the path that feels right to me. Staying with Anna, even though we live apart, is a testament to the complexity of love, forgiveness, and commitment. It may not be the traditional path, and many might judge my decisions, but it is the path that allows us to heal, grow, and hope for a brighter future. As the sun begins to set over the pond, painting the water with a warm glow, I feel a glimmer of hope. The future is uncertain, but with patience, understanding, and love, I believe we can overcome any challenges that may arise. For Ethan's sake, for myself, and for the possibility of reconciliation and healing, I am ready for what lies ahead. As we roll up our gear and pack our rods, I take Ethan's hand, feeling grateful for this moment of peace and connection. We walk home knowing that despite the challenges ahead, We are moving forward together, one step at a time. What do you think about this story? Write in comments. If you don't follow our channel, Cheating Room, you will probably never hear from us again. If you are subscribed, congratulations, you will not miss any exciting story. Thank you for listening to this shocking story with us. See you again.
Bye bye.